Hi, this is Erin from BlossyB. Welcome to my channel. The plan for this video is to make two beautiful trinket trays, each in totally different materials and colours, along with a stunning wall ornament and a surprise repeat make with a mould I've already showcased, all from the Resin Mould Box May 2026 Sunbeams and Heartstrings collection. This is the final part of a 3-part series. I'll leave the links to 1 and 2 in the description box below. Okay, we're going to be making the ribbed romance heart tray, and I've got a little bit of an idea of what I want to do. I want to use these beautiful dried flowers that came in this kit. I think they're just gorgeous, and I thought to pick up that colour I'd use this pigment, Raspberry Rush, which is one of the pearl pigments from Solid Solutions, and then I'm going to use a little bit of gold leaf in there as well, and I'm hoping that will all come together to make a pretty rim. And then I'll put some, when that's got to a gel state or even cured, I'll then be able to put in a clear layer of resin and start layering the flowers up. So I'm going to just mix up a little bit of resin, and then while that's mixing, I'll show you what we're going to do with the tray. Okay, so I've got Solid Solutions Epoxy casting resin. Now this is a mixing ratio of 1:1. It's crystal clear, self-leveling, high gloss, UV resistant. Just over 100 mils in total, which should be fine. So I'm just going to pop this into my Estoyo mixer. Turn it on. Whoops. If it's spinning around madly like that, just a little tip is to take some paper towel, just dampen it slightly with some water and pop that underneath. Less mayhem. All right, let's bring our tray back. I'm just going to put down a couple of pieces of paper towel while I'm working with the gold foil, just because I know that can go everywhere, and my goal is to just get little bits of foil around the edge. Now if anything happens and I get some in the middle, it's not the worst thing that's ever happened. So open this up, and these are the tweezers that came with this kit as well. Just going to lay little fragments around the edge, just for a little bit of extra detail. Now we'll have a look at our resin. So I'm going to go in and scrape around the side, and there are quite a few bubbles in there, but from experience with this resin, they will dissipate. I'm going to spritz the mould with some isopropyl alcohol as well. Okay, so that's looking really good. And now I'm just going to let that sit for 2 minutes, and that will allow any or all of the bubbles to come out. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to take this gorgeous Raspberry Rush and I'm going to pop it into a container with some alcohol, give it a little swish around to dissolve it, and then we can mix it up. Wow, this is one of those yummy colours, and remember these are the flowers that we're working with, so I'm hoping that it picks up those colours beautifully. Yeah, that's delicious. I'm going to decant some into a smaller cup. The resin bank, that will give me a little bit more control and less likelihood of me having to have a considerable cleanup. Spritz there, and in we go. Wow, my goodness. The word lush springs to mind. Okay, I'll just give that a squirt and let that self-level for a minute. I'm going to turn this round. I can see I've got quite a bit there that can go in, but around here it looks like I'm getting close, so I'm not sure whether it's even all the way around, but we'll do another little pour and let's have a look. I definitely feel like it's coming up to there. Just leave it again, another little spritz. What a beautiful colour. After about 12 hours, this has reached a gel state, and you'll see I had some leftovers and made a few little pieces on the left. We've got our flowers here, so we'll open those and pop that protective sheet to the side, and then they've got an extra little protective layer over the top of them. Okay, and I'll make sure I've got my tweezers. Okay, the first thing I need to do, give this a little squirt of isopropyl alcohol, and we've got our resin here, and all I want to do is drizzle just the tiniest amount over the top here. I'll just let that move a little bit on its own and just see how we're going. It's really just enough to ensure that I'm not laying any of the flowers directly onto the mould. So I'm just going to gently pull some of this out to the edge. Definitely need a little bit more. Just don't want to put too much in because I'm going to be doing a back coat on here, and I don't want to overly fill the tray. Okay, just a little squirt of isopropyl alcohol, and I can see just a couple of tiny places where the resin is shrinking. And so when you're doing something like doming or top coating, or in this case a thin coat, you just need to make sure that you look at what you've poured from as many different angles as you can in good light. And if you see any dimples, so little indents, that usually means that the resin is drawing back away from an area, and you just need to top that up a little bit. So this is looking pretty good at the moment. Okay, we'll give that another little squirt. And so now I need to start thinking about how I'm going to lay out. I'm just going to get my little pigment container and set that there to stop it flicking back up. So it looks like I've got 2 of these gorgeous, well, would they be daisies? I presume all of this has been dyed. And then I've got 4 of these. They almost look like little viola leaves. Or viola, I'm not quite sure. You say viola, I say viola, who knows. And I need to remember that I'm working from the front back. So whatever I put at the front is going to be the thing that is seen. And so to me, these flowers are just gorgeous. Now I'm going to sit and slight drag, so I'm hoping there to reduce the chance of bubbles. And you can of course coat them with resin, but they're quite delicate, and to be honest, I'm not going to let a few bubbles ruin my enjoyment of these if that's what happens. Okay, and then just checking we need to be facing down, and like that. Beautiful. I'm going to drizzle over just a teeny amount of resin, and really the only purpose for this in my mind at the moment is to sort of weigh some of them down. Like, I don't think they're going to pop up, nothing as yet, and just get a little bit of a clear layer over the top and let that self level. And then when this reaches the gel stage, which means it's thick enough to not move if I pour a second layer on, I'll be able to choose a colour for the back and go ahead and fill the mould completely. Now remember, if I've got any little bits sticking up, doesn't matter because we've got another coat to go on, and I just want to make sure that one is away from the edge and this one away from the edge. Perfect. So this kit really did come with some beautiful things. We've used not just the mould, but we've used the gold flakes and these gorgeous dried flowers, and hopefully it will be worth the time spent. I'm pretty happy with that. Doesn't mean I won't come in and fiddle with it in a minute. I'll clean off my tweezers, and then while I've got that gorgeous raspberry colour out, I'm going to work on another project. So, well, very carefully move this one up here. And that's good, it means I can keep an eye on it. You can keep an eye on it for me too. Alright, so we'll give this a little spray and a clean and get the workspace reset. And I'm going to do the rose oval trinket tray. Now, I know that probably people who get this mould would treat the rose as a feature, but for me, not so much. I'm just not, it's not my vibe. So I'm going to see what happens when I pretend it's not there and try and work around it. So I've prepared some maths, which I will now share with you, and that is, so the tray has a 200ml capacity. So what I'm doing, I'm multiplying that number by 1.9 to convert it to grams for my eco casting compound, which is SolidCrete by Solid Solutions. That gives me 380 grams total needed. Now I've decided I'm going to use 3 colours. So I'm going to use Raspberry Rush and Papaya, and then I'm also going to add in a teeny little bit of Saffron Yellow. So I've worked out that I need to mix up around about 160 grams each of these, which works out to around about 40 grams per part. So when I'm getting the raspberry ready, I need 3 times that, which is 120, and then 1 times that of water. And then with the saffron yellow, I'm going to do 60 grams total, which is 15 grams per part. If I can ever help you, if I can explain this better to you, please let me know. In my head, it just, because I do it all the time, it just makes sense. But I understand it might not work with your material. I have, however, had amazing feedback from some of you that this has completely changed the way they have been working with an eco casting compound, because it means you can be quite accurate instead of just eyeballing. It is not something I enjoy doing. I'm a maths person. I like doing things properly. So this is what we're going to be working off. So I think what I'm going to do, I'll move this over. You get to experience the joy of the shuffle and move this over. Now, these ones, I need to make space for my scales. So I'm just going to pop these up here and bring my scales back. My scales are in a plastic sealed Ziploc bag. Because, well, you can probably guess why. Because I've ruined scales before by dropping material onto them, and just don't want to do that. I want to work cleanly and neatly and not have to replace things. Okay. Once I've finished, I can move the... Actually, look, indecisive Erin. I'm going to move these out of the way altogether. I'll just sit them behind here and they can continue curing, and then I'm not risking anything with it. This one I'm going to pop a little cover over. I've got it a little bit off the edge. There we go, and then I can bring this down. Okay, so I'll grab that cover. It's just one of these cheap food covers to keep flies away. So do that. And oops. Fence it off. Protect it from me. Okay, perfect. All right, let's start mixing up our powder. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out the powder, and then I'll add in the pigment, and then we'll add in the water. So I'll come back in a moment when I've ready to do that. Okay, first one, I have teared back the scales, and I'm just going to pop 120 grams of powder into this one. This is the Solid Solutions SolidCrete. It is such an affordable, beautiful product. Could not recommend it more highly, and I buy it in 20 kilo lots. So it comes in 2 10-kilogram tubs, which I just keep on the floor beside me. They are very tricky to open because they're so beautifully sealed for transport, and so I feel confident that the powder stays nice and dry at times. Okay, so that's those two. And now I need a little one of 60 grams. I just keep this plastic container and a spoon and a cup in a tub, and then that just makes it easier for me to sort of decant out what I need. So the parts for this one are 15, and I need 3 of those because this is a 3:1 ratio. So I need just perfect. I need 45 grams of the powder, and just clean this off. Having it covered in plastic makes my life so perhaps more predictable, which is good in this case. Okay, so that's our little one, and the little one is going to be saffron yellow. This one's a new one. These pigments are just so cost effective, and you get 20 grams and they're just beautiful. They're so lustrous and pearlescent and highly reflective and pigmented. Okay, I think it would be very smart of me to just turn that over for the moment. It's like getting put into the naughty corner, but it's for your own good. Okay, so we'll go in with the gold. Now, there is definitely a ratio of additives to material that you should follow, and I'm quite comfortable working with this. It's not going to ever give us super vibrant or, you know, dark colouring, but it certainly will give us colouring. Okay, that's that one. Now we're going to go in with Raspberry Rush into one of the larger ones, and that's exactly the same colour as we've used there. And the reason I mix the powder of the eco casting compound and the mica powder together first is to try and evenly distribute the pigment through. It doesn't always work, but I have found that it gives me the best result. And I've almost stopped using liquid pigments for colouring. I do have a beautiful set from Solid Solutions of liquid pigments, but at the moment I'm just loving the extra sheen that the mica powders give the already gorgeous sheen of the eco casting SolidCrete. So almost always I find I get a little bit of uncoloured powder towards the bottom, but I can monitor that as I'm tipping it into the water. Alright, and then our last colour is this absolutely stunning papaya, and I'm hoping, of course, that these 3 colours will complement each other and work well. Okay, time to weigh out the water. So I know that we need, for the 2 main colours, we need 1 part water, which equals 40 grams, and for the small amount we need 1 part water as well, which is 15 grams. So we'll measure that out now. And I do use 2 cups for this, but the cups that have the powder in it I can reuse straight away, no problem at all, for similar projects. I'll just add that little thing in there. I wouldn't put resin in them or anything. Okay, so we need a 15. I can hear Milo in the living area. He's found his favourite squeaky toy and he's giving it a little workout. He loves doing that. It's so cute that he does that. Just on his own. He's like, have a little play, little squeak. Okay, so we've got 40, whoop, nearly knocked that one over, and one last 40. So my plan is to just sort of pour, which I've done many times, just in sort of ribbons, nothing spectacularly fancy, and see how we go. So we're just checking this one and this one. So this is the 50. Yep. Okay, so as I'm tipping it in, I'm just sort of giving it a little swizz around to make sure that it's well mixed, and give that a little stir. Goodness, I realised I was completely stirring off camera, which is not helpful to anybody. Okay, so that's our saffron yellow ready to go, and now we've got our papaya, which again I did. I'm so sorry, it's a bad habit, isn't it? Clutching things to your chest. I used to say that about ladies in distress, and they'd clutch their pearls. Well, I'm clutching my mixture. Probably not quite the same. And you'll notice that the colours do darken when they mix with the water, but again they will not be vibrant colours, they will be somewhat pastel. Okay, holding it out. Okay, that's looking gorgeous. And last but not least, the hero of this piece, which is the raspberry. And oops, go this way and check that in. Oops, there was a little bit of unmixed there. So I see some of the white powder, so I'll just try and incorporate that as best as I can. And although I did the maths and worked out the amounts, I forgot to mention that the more colours you use with the Mica casting compound, the more you risk not quite having enough because you get residue in each cup. Alright, so we know that's on the bottom. Give them a final little stir. Take the spoons out. Saffron yellow there. We've got our papaya there and our gorgeous raspberry rush here. Okay, oh, this is exciting. Alright, so we'll just start with a little sort of a drizzle, not too thick or too dramatic. So I am just trying to get most of that rose covered, and then I'm going to do a thin little stream of the saffron yellow. Now, if you're not confident with pouring, you can always let these sit for a while and thicken up, and that could be a bit easier for you, so you're not worried about it being too liquidy and going off all over the place. Okay, then we've got our papaya, and I'm really only focusing on what's touching the mould first. I'm not worried about what happens after that with any blending or anything. Might as well do this little one as we go. Okay, and then what are we up to? We're up to the papaya here, and stretch it along and marry it up with the edge a little bit there. And then we're up to our saffron yellow again. Come on, saffron. This is very close to being not workable. Got to work quickly now. Okay, so then we go back to our gorgeous raspberry and another little bit, well, if we can get it, might not, might have had our yellow reach its working limit, which is fine. Because it appears to be, I'm just going to go in over the top of the other colours with a bit more, just so we've got enough volume with the other colours. Now this one, I need to get a little bit of the papaya in there first, like that. Perfect. And then this one I need to finish with the raspberry, like that. And then I'm going to make sure I get as much of this saffron yellow in as I can. When you're using multiple colours, you do always have to think about what will happen when they blend, if they blend with another colour. And I love the sort of tropical fruity sort of look of these colours when they blend, so quite happy for that to do whatever it needs to do. Okay, that is the last of our saffron, and I'm just going to give this a quick jiggle and then go in and hopefully fill up the gaps. Getting very thick now. If you are going to use pigments like this, you do have to be aware that it can affect the curing of your final product, and take that into consideration. It means that you're asking more of your product than it's designed to do, so you can't sort of get upset if it's not doing what you wanted it to do. Okay, perfect. All right, now I'm going to grab a clean paddle pop stick. This is going to make a mess. Don't get upset. It's all right. But I want to take whatever excess I've got there out over to here. That's my plan anyway. I can probably go over to here, can't I? So I'm just going to run this over, and I'm just trying to smooth this surface out. And I think I'm going to have to do some sanding, which is not an issue. I can't believe I say that about sanding here, because I hate sanding normally, but this material is so easy to work with. I feel like if I could tap this, it would liquefy a little bit. Okay, I've definitely reached the I need to stop playing stage. The other material is hardening, so I'm just going to try and squish it out on my mat if possible. This is so I can make terrazzo chips, And worst case scenario, I can just use the sort of crumbs filler for future projects. And I wish I could get that flatter, but it's going to have to come down to sanding the base. That's to do, I think, with the amount of pigment I put in there, and I probably just wasn't working fast enough either. And I certainly need to stop. Okay, stopping. I'll just try and get the teeny little bit of pink out and smooshed and done. All right, we'll be back in about an hour and I'll check in on our resin as well. What you got? What you got? Oh, was that a naughty thing? Is that your 8 booby crocodile? Yeah. What you got? Oh no. Now what's happened? What? You silly. Okay, so now we will demold this and just see what we ended up with, knowing it's going to need sanding. So it's coming out really easily, and ta-da! That's gorgeous. It's exactly what I wanted, and I can't see any issues with that yellow where it was hardening faster. Beautiful. So I'll show you the back. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly take this over to the kitchen sink, and I'm just going to use an 80 grit sandpaper underwater. Okay, that took less than 3 minutes. Now, I've only done a first rough sand, but you can already see that's looking pretty good. So I'll give it a sand afterwards, and it came out pretty gorgeous. I'm really happy with that one. Okay, now our last mould for this series is going to be the Honeybee mould. So I'll grab that and we'll work out what we're doing. So I wanted to make this one in polyurethane resin, and I'm thinking about how I can get the wings to be a sort of a lighter colour, and then do I just try and get sort of a bright yellow everywhere else, knowing that I can go in with a marker pen afterwards? Or do I use a mica powder and dust it first? Decisions. The thing is, whatever I do, I can redo it. So I think I'm going to just go for a straight pour, so I won't need my little brushes, and I'll check the measurements for this one. So it's 55 ml in total. So the most important colour to me is the one that's going in here. So I'll go and find a mica powder that I think will give us a really pretty finish, and then do I do the whole thing in that? Decisions. Okay, I'll go and work that out. I've chosen 2 colours. I've chosen Bright Luster Satin for the wings, and I've chosen Raven Black for as much of the black parts as I can do. This is the product I'm using, the Solid Solutions Polyurethane Casting Resin. It's a 1:1 ratio. It is meant to be measured out by volume. However, I am taking it upon myself for my project to do it by weight. So this is the wings. So let's see, we need 55 mils in total. So I'm going to go maybe 20/40. So we'll go 20 mils for this one, and we'll go, actually I'll do 15 just so I know I've got enough. Did I tear that back? Just a second. No, dear, always got to tear back to 0. So we've got 12, and I'll just put a little drop more. And we've got 15. So the larger of the 2 amounts is our Bright Luster Satin. Okay, perfect. Pop the lid on that one. And for the legs and the antenna and the head and possibly the body, I just think it's going to end up a big smushy mess, but look, we'll see. I do intend to colour this afterwards, hopefully using some markers, some alcohol markers, and that means that I can just go over any area that's an issue. I'm not expecting this to come out black. It's much more likely to come out grey, to be honest. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to add in the part A now, and I'm just making sure I've got a little extras mould down in front of me in case. All right, 0. So this one's 20, way too much. Uh-oh, that'll be interesting. And this one is, got to tear that back, 15. I'm already taking too long. Okay, put there. This will be interesting. So I've got more of the part A than I should have had. Okay, so let's see if we can get the lighter colour into the wings. Okay, that's going pretty well. Wing or a foot, I don't know. It could be, I think it's a leg, but now I'm going to have to do it the same on both sides. Okay, that's going down into the head, but that's all right. Now the black, got to try and be a little bit precise with this. All right, I don't really have a plan for what to do about that, but I'm not going to worry too much. Okay, a little bit more in here. Perfect. I'll just tip the excess into cup, a disc. Oh, what am I talking about? I think this is a bit silly. Won't even show through. I'm literally just amusing myself now. Okay, so that is done, and in 15 minutes we'll find out if that worked or not. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes and let's have a look. So we've got these two extras there and there. Now, interestingly, that lighter colour bubbled a little bit. I've seen this happen before when it's had a reaction to, I think, either moisture in the air or it's been an out-of-date product. So I don't know what we're going to get, but we won't know until we demould. It's a very thin little mould, so I'm just trying to be super careful around the delicate areas. Ooh, no, yes, maybe. Okay. Oh wow, I'm really happy with that. So it's amazing. So the black has come out grey, which is what I thought it might do, and the wings are a light colour, which is great, and that means that I can go ahead and colour it. So I'm going to probably do that tomorrow when there's better light, but I'm really happy with that. So it's time now to mix up the back coat for this, and I've pulled out a couple of colours. Even though this is a raspberry reddish colour, I thought a really pale, almost a ballet slipper pink might look pretty, and I've got this one from Solid Solutions. It's called Blush, and I don't think I've used it before. And I'm also going to mix up a little bit of this Interference Ghost Gold, so that will hopefully pick up the gold flake that we've used around the edges, and hopefully is pretty, hopefully. So I've got a little bit of alcohol in each of these, and I'll pop in the mica powder and get that dissolved. Now I really don't want to use much at all of this one. I don't have any experience with the gold the interference, so I don't know what to expect, but we'll figure it out together. We'll learn together. So then I've got the blush, and remembering that I want this super pale. I really like it to be opaque, which could mean that I need to put a little bit more pigment powder in and then add some white pigment powder perhaps, but I'm not sure. See that gorgeous shimmer? That's what I'm hoping we get. So I've mixed up a batch of the Solid Solutions casting resin and give that a squirt, and then we'll pour some into each of the cups. I don't expect that I'm going to need very much at all because it's probably about 2 to 3 mils maximum off the top. So I'll keep a little bit to the side just because, and I'll mix that together. So this is a lot darker than what I was hoping for, but it's very pretty. And let's have a look at this one. And this is strange. I need to do some research into these interference sort of ghost pigments and find out how I can best use them. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab a white or a pearl shade and add a little bit to each. Okay, so I've chosen opal white for both. And I do need to be mindful that because I'm adding this in now, that I will need to mix it very carefully just to make sure that everything is properly combined. See if we can lighten this one up just a little bit. That's getting much better. All right, I might put just a little bit more in there. Okay, and just thoroughly stir that in. Yeah, that's giving us a much more delicate sort of background. I don't want it too overpowering because I still want the flowers and everything to be the main star of the show. So let's have a look what happens to this with that opal mica powder. Definitely getting a bit more opaque, which is great. You could put in a pigment paste, which would rapidly help. But the thing about that is that pigment pastes, or particularly a white titanium pigment paste, can often lighten or take away the sheen of a mica powder. And I'm really looking for that luster that comes from a mica powder. So that's looking very pretty. That had a couple of little particles on the top. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just let these sit for a minute, and then if there are any particles of pigment in there, hopefully they will come to the surface and I can deal with them. I'll just do a quick clean up here, and I might add a little bit more resin into each, or maybe the pink one more. I'll just get a spatula to scrape that out. Okay, all right, let's check. So look at that. That is unmixed mica powder that's popped up to the surface. So I'm just going to try and combine that. It just shows how important it is to really keep a look at. So if I didn't mix that in thoroughly, what would happen is you will actually see it in the final product. Now there's a couple in this one as well. It's not the worst thing that could ever happen to your resin project, but if you can minimise it, then I think that's great. I'll just let these sit for one more minute and do another check. Give them both a squirt of, I need to fill up my spray. Quick spray all over the tray, and let's see if we're going to get any more unmixed pigment powder. It's very convenient how it pops up to the top. Okay, I think we're fine. So we'll start pouring. I don't really have a plan. I just want to sort of, I'm hoping to get some really pretty swirls. So because this pink is going to be sort of my main colour, let's have a look. If you've worked with resin before, you'll know that it probably doesn't matter what I do here. It will do its own thing. but I do know that mostly whatever touches the resin, sorry, the silicone mould, or in this case the clear layer we've put over first, will be what shows when you demold it. So I'm just going to try and make sure that I get a little bit of each of the colours on the bottom. So you wouldn't pour all one colour and then pour all of the next colour and hope that they're both going to show through, because unless one is a significantly heavier mixture than the other, that's not going to happen. I am absolutely loving this. That combined colour is just gorgeous. So I'm just drizzling and swirling and not really doing anything that makes any sense, just getting it in there, a bit random. Now I do want to make sure that I get to the edge, but I don't particularly want to dome it, because this is going to be the base of the tray and it would be preferable if it was flat. It's gone into everywhere it needs to go. Look at that, pretty. Okay, we'll move that one up there. Now with this excess of both of these colours, I was going to have another little go at this one, and let me think, I'll probably just try and do similar. So just sort of wibble wobble my way around, which is a technique I could get behind. Wibble wobble, that's easy to do. A little bit of this, a little bit of this, little bit. Try and make them both similar, not identical of course, but similar. And then I'll give this a chance to self-level, and then that will tell me where I need to add in any extra. Do the little bar the same, just drizzle. Okay, looking very pretty. I doubt that I've got enough to finish these, and I might have to just very quickly mix up another little bit. So my main focus at the moment is to make sure that we've got these ones filled, because I can do the coat hangers later. This mould takes around 55 mils or grams of resin, so it's a very teeny tiny amount. So I think it punches above its weight for value. Definitely don't ever want to dome moulds like this that interlock, because you will not be able to fit them together if you do. You really need to be careful. Okay, looking good. I've got all that strip there. Here I am commending myself for doing such a good job. I've left a whole, is such a pretty blend. I'm loving it. Okay, let me have a look. I'll give that a little spray. What's happening with this one? That's so interesting, that pattern on the back. It's just changing already. All right, perfect. And off camera later on today, when I'm working on a different resin project, we'll just get a little bit of leftover resin and do the coat hangers. So by the time I see them, they will all be filled. I thought while I'm waiting for these pieces to completely cure, I'm going to start working on the bee. Now, I'm not sure if you can hear in the background, I've got my Resiners G3 running with the beautiful heart in it, and I ended up pouring the little hangers, and I made up extra because I really wanted to see what it looked like in cats. I also poured some more earrings, which are over in the G3 as well. So here are the little pussycats. These were from the border of the heart, and here are the earrings, the same with some of that gold foil. Time to decorate our beautiful bee. I started off by using alcohol ink markers, and I'm just going over all of the areas that I would like black. This particular marker set has both a fine nib and a brush nib, and it went really well. But what I found is when I was trying to get into all the little nooks and crannies on the sides, it just wouldn't reach. So I switched over to a pack of oil-based markers that I have, and they have a brush tip on the end. That brush tip was what saved the day. So yeah, it just made it just so much easier to get in and out of all of those little areas. Now, I did want to have a translucent sort of sparkly wing appearance. I know it isn't translucent. So I decided to use this Montmartre iridescent paint. However, I wasn't happy with how it turned out, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. Just to say that I will use it in the future in another project, just to see if it's better suited for other material. So after that didn't meet my satisfaction levels, I switched over to using the Solid Solutions Polyurethane Gloss Varnish and some gorgeous little pixie dust particles from Just Resin. Mixed those two together and then applied that with a brush, and I was much happier with that finish. It really did shine and was super pretty. After I finished all of this, I took it outside and gave it a spray seal with Rust-Oleum 2x gloss varnish, and that just locked all of the colour in, and I ended up being absolutely thrilled with my beautiful bee. I'm going to use this Gillies Liquid Beeswax to coat the SolidCrete Eco Casting Compound tray, and I'm going to use a paintbrush today because I want to make sure I get into all those little detailed areas. This smells so beautiful and it certainly darkens the colour. I'm starting to wonder if that brush was not just stained, but yeah, great, it actually has some sort of blue. Well, that was not good. You're probably thinking, but you're still using it. Well, yes, because I just don't think that whatever it is going to soak into the surface. It'll serve me right if it does. Alright, so I'll just use a piece of paper towel to buff off the excess. Those colours are looking beautiful, so I need to do a little bit more on it. So that's the back. Admittedly sanded, but that's the difference. Okay, done. So I think that's just really pretty. Really happy with that. It was silky smooth before, but it's even more silky smooth now, which is just so lovely. Okay, so done. All right, so we have got some demolding to do. Need to move my pussycats up. My tray over here, just using water to clean the workspace, and I'll go and give my hands a wash and be back. Okay, these are the second set of earrings that I poured off camera just to see how the colours would go. It's interesting, that's really pretty. It's got the pinks come through as almost veining. Okay, perfect. So I don't know if I mentioned, but this is a holographic mould. Not sure if you can see when you twist to the side. And I need to make these up into earrings. Time to demold these two pieces, and I'm so excited. I've already demolded one of this before, so I know what to expect with the shape. That colour's beautiful. This one's self-demolding. I did that the first time. Take all the pieces out. They're so pretty. So feminine. Loving it. Okay, now little hangers. My goodness, perfect. So I guess this is the big advantage of doing them with resin over polyurethane resin, that you do have a longer time to work with your material and to get it all neat. Wow, okay, oh, that's so pretty. So we'll assemble it. So I've got our end pieces, and these look pretty both ways, which is obviously what you're looking for in the little gaps there. Yeah, this mould fits together just amazingly. I feel like a Lego master or something of that sort. Okay, that is adorable. I love it. I won't glue it together right at this moment because I did show you that in part 1 of this series. So next time you see it, it will have some little earrings on it. Okay, this is our heart shape. Gosh, that's virtually demolding itself, which we love. My goodness. Wow, that is just so beautiful. Got to tidy up the edges around there. That is just so pretty. Love it. Goodness. Last, I didn't demold these 2 little flowers. So that's everything demolded now and loving it all. Okay, here are all of the little cats, the extras, and I just went through and put some little decals on them. So these ones on this series, on this one, and then on the raspberry ones, I've just put a little gold piece on each of them. So time to turn these into fridge magnets. I'm using E6000 jewellery and bead glue, and I'm using some heavy duty ceramic magnet, and I've got my magnets all set out because I like to keep them separate so that they don't all sort of click together. So all I do is pop a little bit of glue on the back, and there we go. Now the earrings. So these ones, I had the gold foil on the back. I didn't love how they turned out, but I thought that could be good as a back. So I've popped on some gold stickers and then just put a layer of UV resin over the top. So if you're wearing these and they dangle around, you get both beautiful sides. So they can go on. And then the same with these. Got sort of a pretty rose and then the foil on the other side. Pop those in. Then these teeny little ones turned out so sweet. Again, foil on the other side. Pop these on. And then these were the ones made with that pink and white. And I've done these, I just did 4 on one side and 3 on the other, and I think they look really pretty. Bring those up, and these ones, whoops, I think I just did 2 on each side of these. There we go. And lucky last, just the teeny ones, just a little flower on each side. This organizer is great. All right, that's all of the little extras. That brings me to the end of this series on the Sunbeams and Heartstrings May 2026 Resin Mould Box collection, and it has been fun. I'm so happy I've had the experience of making these pieces. I think my favourite was the pineapple jar and the earring organizer. I think they are just so gorgeous. If you would like to purchase any of these moulds yourself, or indeed the entire collection, hop on to Resin Mould Box. I'll put all of the details in the description box below, along with a discount coupon for you. I have some photos of all of the items to share, and as I have been lately, I have asked AI, ChatGPT, just to pop in a background for me, so they are my products, my photos, just with a pretty background. So here we go. Here is the second earring organizer I made, along with all those little extra earring pieces. And next up, we've got that gorgeous oval trinket tray made with the Eco Casting Solid Solutions SolidCrete in those beautiful colours. Next, we've got the little bee. Now, I did make two. They're a little bit different. One's a little bit more yellow than the other, but I enjoyed making them both. And then lastly, here we have that beautiful heart trinket tray with the stunning dried flowers and the gold foil highlights. And of course, we were able to sneak in a few pussycat fridge magnets with some extras. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your company so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.